We walked through the village, hand in hand, and Mother smiled at my curious innocence. The streets were dim with the soft glow of fires from within the warm homes. My winter hat was strapped to my head as the snow of 1934 fell lightly. I stuck my tongue out to catch the cooling drops that fell upon all men, all women, no matter their beliefs, and yet these drops, the same that flowed onto others, seemed to stumble onto me. I told my mother that I wanted to be a pilot, just like Daddy in the Great War, I said. She encouraged me and watched me fly around her with my arms fanned out wide. I vibrated my chapped lips to make propeller noises, turning to catch a glimpse of Mother's jaunty smile. The tapping of pencils rattled the classroom as Herr Mueller paced the classroom in his gloomy cloak. Now class, today is time for an experiment. The class became chatty and excitable until Herr Mueller cracked down his rough cane on Manfred's desk, and then silence fell. Stand up. At his beck and call, all 29 boys rose from their desks to reveal a sea of lederhosen. He called our names one by one and ordered us to a side of the room. Klaus, Manfred, and Nicholas, to the right-hand side, please. I began to twiddle my thumbs and scuff my shoes upon the carpet as I waited to be called. Mose, Isaac, and Hans sit on the left side of the class. Now, quick, quick, we don't have time for this. I took my new seat away from all my friends, and that was when I realised that I was different. Daddy used to call this type of behaviour discrimination, but I never understood until that day. Herr Mueller had placed all blonde-haired, blue-eyed boys on the right-hand side of the classroom, whilst we Jews were left to rot on the damp left-hand side of the room. Klaus, Manfred, Nicholas and I all lived in the same lane, and so we walked home together every day from school, but that day was unusual. Walking down the street, I noticed signs on shops that read, "No dogs or Jews allowed." After Herr Mueller's lesson, I saw the life of a Jew differently. By 1936, Mother seldom walked through the village, but on those rare occasions, she would shrink her head down and hide amongst her sorrowful scarf. Her smiles became less apparent and soon emerged into a fully bloomed tremble covered by red lips. One morning, a follower of the Hitler Youth approached her, chanting, "Jew, Jew, Jew." Soon those followers grew closer to home. Boys as young as Klaus began to join, and we watched as they became mechanical robots who greeted the morning sun with Heil Hitler. Klaus was no longer my friend. Our schools had been separated due to the development of the penetrating Nazi regime, and as his relationship with his fellow Hitler Youth progressed, his hatred of Jews became far stronger. He and his friends would call me names, throw stones at me, or tip my satchel out upon the road and leave my school books scattered along the cobbled streets. Finally, the salvation of 1936 Berlin Olympics came, and Jews felt accepted. Signs were taken off shops and cafe windows, and Jews began to merge once again with the perfect Aryan race. Jews could go to the synagogue without worrying about being shouted at or whispered about, and this was when my mother's smile began to peer through her murky frown. News spread about the synagogue that Frau Hilda Berman's American cousin was to be participating amongst the United States Olympic team. We were high in spirits at the thought of a real Jew contributing in such an adored competition, and this gave me hope that possibly these games would change my life forever. Mother and I watched the grand opening parade for the Olympics in Berlin. The streets were clustered with flags from Britain, France and Greece, but all were dominated by the dreaded swastika. Many of our friends from the synagogue stood with us that day as a freedom celebration, but freedom was far from the truth. "Hallo Hans, wie geht's?" Frau Braumann greeted me and my mother and invited us in. It was the fourth day of the Olympics, and Marty Glickman, Hilda's American cousin, was scheduled to run, and so we all crowded around Frau Berman's crackling radio to hear the commentary. We heard the commentator read out the names and numbers of the runners. Number 12 is Frank Metcalf, and number 13 is Oh wait, we've had a last-minute replacement. Taking number 13 will be USA Jesse Owens. Later on, we heard that Marty had been pulled from the ranks by his American coach due to anti-Semitic views. At the synagogue, people lit candles and prayed for the future of their shared dream.